And me, Lily.
We've got another super guest on the way this week, Sophia Smale, the breakout star of the 100 women's competition. She's on the podcast later on, so make sure you're sticking around for that. It was quite a wonderful interview. Kind of a bit frustrating that I wasn't able to be there for that, but Lily, you did a wonderful job. So, yeah, an awesome interview, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really good. Obviously, very, very thankful to Sophia for squeezing us in her busy schedule. Managed to chat to me while she was at school. So, really grateful for her for making it work and all that. But yeah, no, really enjoyable chat.
Yeah, it's a good interview. Make sure you stick around to listen to it. Lily, you did a good job, as always. But we've got to talk about some cricket first, have a bit of a natter about cricket, as we always say. And the first one we're going to talk about, the first topic we're going to talk about, WBBL signings. But before we get to that topic, we're going to talk a little bit about your little gallivanting across the globe, Lily. You had a whale of a time by the looks of things in England.
Yeah, it's so strange that it's all over. Like, I remember the build-up was like so much longer than the actual trip itself, and a long time planning, but amazing and really worth the trip over. It was really good.
So just for anybody who may be tuning in for the first time, can you just describe to listeners where you actually went and what you actually got up to with friend of the podcast, Polly from the Naughty Child podcast, who was pretty much well across everything, wasn't she?
Yeah, sure. So I went to England for just over a week. I was based in Birmingham for most of the stay, but Polly and I went to 4 different cities in 4 days to watch 4 different cricket games, which was a lot. And I remember, so we started in Birmingham, went to Edgbaston for Originals versus Phoenix. Then we went to Nottingham for Trent Rockets versus Welsh Fire. And then we went to London for Spirit versus Phoenix. And then we went up to Manchester, Old Trafford for Originals versus Oval Invincibles. So yeah, it was a lot. And I remember we were sitting on the train in the morning, just on our way to London, just going, oh, I'm so tired, but we've just got to power through. Like, we were purely running off adrenaline because we were absolutely exhausted. Because we took a lot of train rides that week, that's for sure.
Yeah, a couple of Red Bulls and you would have been fine. But, hindsight's a wonderful thing, as they say. But, overall, you went to a lot of cricket, you spoke to a lot of people, you got yourself on Media Street with the 100 Instagram and everything. So, like, if you could sum up the whole experience in a few words, how would you sum it up?
That's a good question.
The tables have turned now. You're the subject of the interview.
This is so strange. Fun, tiring. That's it. It was fun and tiring. Yeah. That's not a third. Fun and tiring. That's my 3 words. But it was like, it was just incredible. And I obviously I haven't mentioned it here, but everyone who's said like, what was your highlight? And it was honestly like the day at Lord's was just something else. And I couldn't believe it that every single seat was padded. I'm like, it makes sense because it's Lord's, but I just couldn't believe it. I was like, it's padded in like the cheapest section is padded.
Yeah, it's a wonderful ground to watch cricket at. For anybody who's lucky enough to have been and watched a game there, you'll know what I mean. It is absolutely wonderful. And, the chance to go and watch a game at Lord's, if you have a chance, take it. I think that's the one thing that we would both say, having both been there. It's a wonderful place to go and watch cricket, whatever competition it is.
Yeah.
But you're back with us now. No more pre-recorded interviews. We've got everything on the way. We've got full loaded podcasts on the way. We've got a couple of pre-records and a couple of exciting guests on the way as well. We will move now into WBBL signings.
What have we got?
Let's have a look at the concrete one. And the biggest one that actually stood out to me was another English player, and perhaps one of the best bowlers in the world, certainly one of the best spin bowlers in the world. Sophie Eccleston is Sydney Sixer bound. Couldn't believe it.
It definitely was not what I was expecting. That is for sure. To see that this morning, I was surprised. Obviously, I had a feeling she was going to go somewhere, but just wasn't thinking it was Sixers. She did an interview where she said, "Oh, it's good because pink is my favorite color," and I was like, "Oh, well, there you go. But it's really funny because in the comments of the WBBL post, because she said pink's her favorite color, Nicola Carey said, Sophie Eccleston, wish your favorite color was purple.
Yeah, as you would. Well, I mean, I would say that my favorite color is blue, but that doesn't correlate to the
well,
striker.
you can say that. You can say that.
Favorite BBL, WBBL team. Well, it is. I don't mind the strikers at all, but that doesn't correlate at all. But fair play to Sophie Eccleston. She's going to give both me and you a lot of pain this summer, I reckon, because she's going to tear our batting attacks apart, or batting order, I should say, top orders are going to get absolutely hit to shreds.
Yeah, and I mean, look, her with Charlotte Edwards being the head coach as well is definitely going to be an interesting change up. Obviously, they really didn't do too well. Well, that's an understatement. They did not do well at all last season, and it was really not good for the Sixers. So with obviously a change in coaching with Charlotte Edwards, she was bound to bring over an English player. But yeah, surprised it was Sophie. But let's see I'm ready to see what the Sixers can do, because they really did not have a good season last year, and hopefully they can do a bit better, and they can bring those rock star vibes that Maitland was talking about a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, look, fingers crossed they can do a bit better.
But moving on, we will move on to the strikers, because the strikers have made a double signing the other day, with Ella Wilson and Anisu Mashangwe signing on at Karen Rowland Oval. Interesting couple of players. Mashangwe playing in Premier Cricket in SA, which prompted the strikers to make a move. As a strikers fan, as a strikers super fan, Lily, what do you reckon about this pair of signings here?
Look, you know what? I think it's definitely an interesting move. I wasn't expecting it. Ella, yes. Mashangwe, no. Was not expecting that. But, look, I get where they're coming from, because every year they have had, the younger players like Ellie Falconer, Annie O'Neill, push them through the ranks. Used to be Caitlin Pope, not anymore. So now that all their players, like looking at their list now, they haven't got those young rookie players, which I assume they will be. Ella and Anisu probably won't get much game time. So yeah, look, they're filling those kind of rookie positions that every team does have. But yeah, look, it's good to give them the opportunity, and if they do get game time, I wish them well. But yeah, look, I wasn't expecting it, but there you go.
Yeah, well, it's certainly interesting, because it's an unknown player, definitely the case of Mashangwe, who's a Zimbabwean player, but is allowed to register as a local player, given the fact that she is an Australian resident. So that's I think it's really smart, to be honest. I think it's a really smart signing, but we'll have to see how she gets on.
Well, the thing is, they couldn't have signed her as an international player, because I don't know if I've explained this to you, but about the marquee players. So basically, I was a bit confused. So Laura Jolly on Twitter explained it to me the other day. So basically, a team can have up to 5 marquee players, and that is either Cricket Australia contracted players or just any overseas player. I'll just explain it for anyone who doesn't know.
Of course.
Basically, the strikers, for example, have Darcy Brown, Talia McGrath, and Megan Shute, who all are Cricket Australia contracted players, which means that we can only have 2 more overseas players to fit in that 5. So yeah, we've obviously got Laura Wolfert and Deandra Dottin. So, meaning if Anisu did go in as an international player, she couldn't have, because we've filled up that 5 marquee spot. So that's how the strikers have done it, which is, an interesting choice, but we'll go with it. I would have loved to see, like I said, another English player, but yeah, like I said, can't win them all.
Yeah, and there's a couple more to just breeze over. There's a few that have happened quite recently. You've got Georgia Presswidge going to the Renegades. Got Holly Furling, probably the ultimate WBBL shirt collector. She's been at the Heat, the Stars, the Renegades, so a bit of a Melbourne traitor as well, and now just moves to the Scorchers. So that's a good signing for the WBBL's Perth side. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a quality move. We've got the strikers ones, as we talked about. And then Shamima Rodriguez, which I am absolutely thrilled about, by the way.
I bet you are.
Gone from the Renegades to the Stars. And yeah, I put out a tweet upon seeing that signing saying, we're going to win it all. Now, that was a satirical tweet. That was a tweet as if, I wasn't fully serious when I said we're going to win it all, because we still might, but I think we need another couple of players to get us over the line. But Jemima Rodriguez is going to be absolutely wonderful this summer, I reckon.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're lucky you have her because she is an absolute young talent, and she's obviously proven how brilliant she is over in the 100. And she might transfer that all over to the Big Bash. We will see. But yeah, it'd be good to see her play again, because I know she's had some issues with the Indian team and being dropped from that team, because we don't really have an explanation why. So obviously she came back in for the Com Games, but to see her here in the Big Bash again for the Stars is really exciting. And then I don't think we covered these, but Phoebe Litchfield and Lauren Smith back with the Thunder. And then we have Danny Wyatt, who signed with the Heat, which another just the wrong blue, Danny. You were so close, yet so far. And then from the Hurricanes to the Sixers, we have Angelina Jenford. It was another one of those young talents. And it'll be really exciting to see her be in the Sixers squad, really. Did we cover Izzy Wong? I think we did.
I think we did.
Yeah.
I think we did.
Izzy Wong moved to the Hurricanes, if we didn't mention it. But yeah, look, the one that really surprised me actually was Georgia Presswich, because she's been a Queenslander like her whole life, and she's been with the Queensland Fire for so long, and part of the Heat team for so long as well. And I know that her brothers were involved in the Heat, and I'm pretty sure her dad was the WBBL coach at some point. But yeah, for her to just make the swap over to the Renegades, well, we knew she wasn't contracted with the Heat, but I didn't know where she was going, and to see that it was Renegades took me by surprise, to say the least, because she's been a Queenslander for so long. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
His brother, her brother Jack, I should say, George's brother Jack, is at the Renegades. So I wonder if that was
that could be. Yeah, so I know Williams, her other brother, and when they had that shambles season last year of not having any players, he came up into the men's Heat side, William did, and filled a couple of COVID spots for the Heat. But Jack, I did know he moved to the Renegades. But yeah, look, that could be an influence, but I just thought it was interesting that she moved away from her home state after being there for so long.
Yeah, it is an interesting one, you're right, but it kind of makes sense if you do factor in. We may take a bit of a move on from the WBBL.
So the England versus India in the T20 series for the women. I think the first one's happened. I think that's the only one that's happened so far. England with a very easy looking win over India, a very comfortable win, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And the second one actually takes place today as we record this for UK viewers, and tomorrow morning for us at 3 a.m. So yeah, England lead it 1-0, and the third one is actually on Thursday local time. I think that's a 6:30 p.m. start over in England. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. That one's at Gloucestershire. So yeah, hopefully England can win that series. We've made a good start, and long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know Sarah Glenn was player of the match, taking 4 for 23. I'm pretty sure a career best. So really, well, obviously she took a break out of the World Cup side. So it's really good to see her back in the action and taking her career best stats as well. But yeah, look, just really good performance all round, really. I know Sophia Dunkley did really well with the bat, and Alice Capsey supported her there as well. So yeah, really, really good from the England women.
It certainly was. And again, like we say, long may that continue. England's men's side have also had a good result. We've won that test series over South Africa. Zach Crawley hitting the winning runs. How good is it to say that? He's been a bit out of form for England's men's test side, but a bit of a result for him and a result for the side. Obviously, they had the one day that was completely cancelled due to the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. So it was good to see that happen so we could pay respects. But once the cricket got back underway, England, they were pretty much in control the whole way through, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. And look, yeah, good to see England back with a win. I know that it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? It's been a bit of a roller coaster, wins, losses, and then wins again. But yeah, really good to see Ollie Robinson do so well with the ball, taking 5 wickets, and Stuart Broad also taking 4 in that first innings. So yeah, look, I really like Ollie Robinson. I'll never forget when it was that test series in Adelaide in the Ashes, and he was bowling spin because they were really behind on like their overs and they didn't
Yeah,
have much time.
yeah.
So he's bowling spin with the sunnies on, and I was like, I rate that.
He's also got one of the best Barmy Army chants as well, with Ollie Robinson. The Simon and Garfunkel Mrs. Robinson one is brilliant. But yeah, England's pace attack is actually a joke how good it is. Because you've got Broad, pace attack, seam attack, Broad, Anderson, Robinson, Matty Potts, who started the summer so well, Jofra Archer when he's back fit. So I think our bowling stocks are fine for a long while. We just need to get our batters up the top sorted, and we've got a pretty good side, I reckon.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And it's been a bit of a thing, hasn't it? Like the batting collapses. You know, they've been doing so well, and I know that was a thing in the Ashes where they do so well, and then it was just the sudden collapses, and they just couldn't really fight back. Obviously, in Adelaide, like I said, that Ashes series, it was Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson out there trying to fight for a draw, and like you can't leave it down to them. You can't leave it to your opening bowlers to try and draw the match. So yeah, it's the batting that's a work in progress, but I think they're getting somewhere.
Yeah, and hopefully we can keep progressing. Obviously, in terms of Test cricket, the England men's are done for this English summer. So a bit of time for Bazball just to have a bit of a rest and then get itself back going for the English winter.
Yeah. So obviously, in the meantime, that English summer almost comes to an end, and then the Australian one resumes. And in talking about that, we have had some pretty big news hit the Australian ODI world, where Aaron Finch has retired, which I think it's not a surprise. Honestly, I was expecting it to happen soon. I think he's definitely, served his time and he's done really well. But yeah, I think his time has come.
Yeah, probably has. And he's been such a mainstay at the top of the order for Australia, especially in white ball cricket for a long, long while now. You don't really want to say the glue because the glue doesn't really make much sense with the glue, usually being in the middle of the order that holds a team together. But in terms of holding a team together, he has been the glue. He's been the player that's, been the constant when so much has changed around him. Throughout many years of Australian cricket, he's always been reliable at the top of the order for Australia. And obviously retirement is a part of cricket. It's one of those that every player is going to retire. And I'm just glad that he won't terrorize English bowling attacks again.
Yeah, well, you've heard it there first.
He did well. He was good at that. He was good at doing that. He had some great innings. I remember one where it was at the MCG. It was an ODI after the 17-18 Ashes series, the one where Jason Roy made, I think, 180. And I think he turned up that game as well. He's just obviously, with it being England, Australia, you always want him to get out cheaply. But if you remove any form of bias, he's a wonderful cricketer to watch. And in the Big Bash, even with the Renegades, like he'll just whack them everywhere. I'm assuming he's going to play on in the Big Bash. It might just be an international retirement. But if it is the end of his career, the end of his career will be coming soon, no matter what, in all formats. But yeah, he's had a good career as Aaron Finch.
Yeah, absolutely. He is still in the BBL squad, so I assume obviously he'll still be going with that for a while. I just double checked there. But yeah, no, brilliant player, and like we said, still going to see him around in the Big Bash. So not the end of Aaron Finch just yet. But yeah, that is all the stuff we need to talk about, I believe. So should we move on to our interview?
I think we shall.
Yeah. So obviously, like we said at the beginning, I spoke to Sophia Smale, who, like we said, has been the star of the 100 and, had her breakout season this year. Now, obviously, Ollie, you didn't take part, but you did have a listen to the interview. And yeah, look, she was just really lovely, wasn't she? So brilliant.
Like, if you're going to get someone on their first day back at school in one of their free periods to take their time and do an interview, I think that just shows how much of it shows her character in a sense. I think anyway, like she didn't have to do that, but she took time out of her day to speak to you and talk about cricket and talk about her life and hockey and England and Wales and her grandpa, which was, I think, quite wholesome. All the stuff that she mentioned about her grandpa and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a wonderful interview and hopefully you enjoy it.
Yeah, so enjoy the interview with Sophia Smale.
In the air and gone. cordon bowl, Smale. And the dangerous Mandana has gone. This is good from the Invincible.
Welcome, and thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a pretty amazing week for you, hasn't it? Just over a week ago, you were winning a grand final at Lord's. So how has the past week been for you, going back to school, probably back to regular cricket? How's the past week all been?
Well, this is my first day of school. I wasn't in for the first 2 days because we were supposed to be playing Vipers at home. But yeah, last week it was just, I sort of just went to my family, like went to my grandparents and just sort of chilled at home and just tried to relax. And then yeah, I was straight into the Storm cricket, and obviously it is different, and especially with the longer format. I actually think it's a bit harder to bowl in the longer format anyway. So it was a challenge, but yeah, just today's been a bit like a lot, obviously being back in school, but yeah, just trying to relax as much as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure your teachers are all probably a little bit, being a bit lenient because, you've had a pretty incredible past couple of weeks. So I'm sure they're all a bit easier on you.
Yeah, they are. Well, my next lesson's with my form tutor who's like does everything for me. So I think she'll be okay because I haven't done any of the coursework. So I'm pretty sure she's mad at everyone, but I'm really hoping she'll be a bit more lenient with me. But yeah, they've been okay, and yeah, it's going to be hard this year to really focus on my A levels and my cricket.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? There's been a lot of chat about obviously like an under-19s cricket World Cup and all these other tournaments that are happening, and I'm sure it's probably going to be, you're going to have to make some decisions as to what you play and what you don't play, because you've obviously got a lot of school happening as well, and that's probably going to get too much at some stage.
Yeah, obviously under-19s. If I obviously get picked, I have no idea. I think it comes out the end of this week or next week. I'll definitely be going. I know it's the whole of January, but I'm not really bothered about that. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously an amazing opportunity, and if I got the chance to go, I'd definitely be going. And I guess I'm lucky with the 100 and stuff. It's all in the summer, so obviously that will be the only sort of big clash if I get in it. But I'm pretty sure I'll be going.
Yeah. No. Well,
I think the schoolwork can take the side.
Yeah, I mean you can't. Well, obviously you'd be representing your country, so I think that's definitely a priority, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I guess going right back to the very beginning of how you started playing cricket, how did you first get into the sport?
My granddad was like a MCC coach. My uncle played for Wales and Wales schools and stuff, and my mum, there wasn't much cricket then for mum, so she didn't play it, but she grew up with it. And have an older brother. Grandpa got me into cricket. There was no not playing cricket. And yeah, I guess I used to go along and watch my brother play. He played for Wales and just playing county twos now and stuff. And I used to run, and I used to go along to all the matches and think, oh, I want to play. And Grandpa got me into playing then at Newport, and I've played ever since. I think I probably started down there in like reception, to be honest. So it's like when I was 5 or 6. Yeah. I probably played my first hardball when I was about 6 or 7, and then I got into Wales at 8, and then from then I've just played cricket all my life.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're still 17, and you're already playing in the 100 and possibly going to play in the World Cup. So that's incredible. But you grew up in that generation where I did as well, where we had females to look up to. Players that you probably play with didn't have that. So did you have any specific female role models growing up, and if so, who would they be?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we were very lucky anyway, because there was a local club that had a girls team and stuff. So I was like, Newport was my brother's club, and it had a girls team, so I was really lucky with that. But I played tennis when I was little, and I loved Serena Williams. I thought her grit and determination was something that inspired me. And then my cricket role model growing up was Elise Perry. I loved watching her bat. Just very technically correct. Scored runs for fun. And although I didn't bowl right arm seam, obviously, I loved her growing up. And obviously, she's so fit. And yeah, I always thought like she's a proper athlete. And then when I found out she like balanced football and cricket, like when I was a bit older and I was doing the same with hockey and cricket, for me, then that also helped me. And then obviously when Sophie Eccleston did come along, it was obviously Eccleston for my bowling. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like obviously you mentioned Elise Perry, and then to play against her in this previous tournament in 100, that must have been quite crazy and a bit surreal.
Yeah, I feel like everyone else, like it didn't feel that bad, but I think when I was bowling against Elise, it was just very like, it felt a bit weird. Just because I'd always watched her play and I'd always watched her bat, and I'd always look up to her, I guess, when I was bowling at her. Yeah. When I look back and I was like, oh, that was really weird. And it was the same with like Eccleston. I didn't get to bat against her. But obviously I think I did bowl a few balls at her, and it was, yeah, I think those were the two that really like hit the hardest, was like you're playing against those that were your role models growing up.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And you also mentioned there about playing hockey. Now, I'm not sure what level you're kind of at with your hockey playing, but how do you manage to juggle the two? And do you at the moment, or have you kind of gone more towards cricket?
So I've managed to juggle the two internationally since February.
Yeah.
So yeah, I used to play for I still do play for Wales, but I haven't played since February. It was my last Welsh camp. And I'm probably going to play club this year if I can, and pop down to training and stuff. But Wales, I'll go up to under 21s now. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I think they're still keen for me to go along and trial, but I'm not sure really. It's totally dependent on how busy I am over the winter. But yeah, I think at the moment it is mainly cricket, and hockey is sort of fizzled out.
Yeah, I mean, look, and once you finish school, I'm sure that will, that puts that aside.
Yeah,
so you might have time for the both as well. Yeah.
Well, exactly. I'm not planning on going to uni at the moment, just because I want a year out, and I'm not really sure what I want to do yet. So that would be quite nice. Just I'll be able to maybe get a bit more tennis in as well with my mum, and play hockey for club. But yeah, it will be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So now moving on to kind of the 100, which is obviously the huge talking point at the moment. Now, you signed quite late on with the Oval Invincibles. You were a very last minute signing because of injury. So we've heard that you didn't know about this, but your mum did. So tell me about how you found out when you signed with Oval, and what your thoughts were there.
I just came home from a cricket match one day, and mum just said, "Oh, I've got some good news." And I don't know, part of me, like, I wanted it to be what I wanted to hear was I'd been called up, but then at the same time I knew that it was a long shot and I was being optimistic. And yeah, she'd managed to keep it a week from me. I think just because she wanted me to focus on like my club cricket, and it wasn't properly finalised and stuff. So she didn't want me to get ahead of myself and stuff. So I think she told me that night, and then I think she rang JB, and then I went on the phone to him, and he said something like, "Oh, will you accept the offer?" And I was like, also like, I'm not going to say no. But yeah, though, I think I was jumping around the house when after the phone was put down. I was off. I was off for one.
That's amazing. It must have been just such a like you said, because you obviously didn't want to get too ahead of yourself, thinking,
Yeah.
you know, I could be called up. So
I definitely cried a lot. Happy. I'm a massive crier. So I think when we won, I ran on the pitch and all of a sudden I was broken down.
That's amazing. And now, talking about, obviously you had such an outstanding season, played all the games with the Invincibles, which is quite surprising actually, because when they sign quite young players, young players don't necessarily play all the games, if any. So for you to play all of them, and you have taken, your statistics are incredible. The wickets you have taken, that their entire tournament, every single one has played for their country at some stage. Everyone. So Alyssa Healy being your first. So what was that whole experience like? I mean, like we said, brand new. People probably weren't aware of you too much, but then by the end they were.
Yeah, well, as I said, I wasn't expecting to get in. I was just expecting to really be sat on the side, especially when you're a late bowler. But I think I bowled really well in the warm up against Southern Brave. And part of me thought, oh yeah, like I could get a go, but I mean, there was 99% that was, you're just going to sit on the side and not just be an experience and enjoy it. And then I got in, and I didn't really think too much about who I was bowling against. I tried not to think about like their area, like where I want to bowl. Like, do I want to bowl a bit back of the length or anything? I just thought I'd just bowl my best ball. And I always say to myself, I'm a spinner, especially in that format, you will get hit for runs. So it's about just backing yourself. And in the analysis, I tried really to just not read too much into it, worry about your 2 out or your 4 out, and that's it, and then just bowl. But yeah, I think it might have helped. They wouldn't have had much footage on me, but I think at the same time, the analysis after obviously the first game, when I did quite well against Superchargers, they would have got a lot of footage on me from obviously regional cricket and stuff. So it wasn't like I was completely unknown, and I think a lot of people in the counter setup knew who I was. But it was a completely new environment. I'd never been in that environment. It was incredible, like just high level performance. And it was a completely new set of people. I'd never really spoken to any of them. It wasn't my region, so I'd gone into a completely new environment, and I've honestly made friends for life, and some of them are just lovely. I played against some Lords Winfield Hill yesterday, and I was batting, and she was just chatting away to me the whole time, and that wouldn't happen if I hadn't been in the 100. So I'm very lucky to be able to play with great company and people that are class players.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, on that, it must have been just pretty insane to be in a team, not have to play against them, but to be in a team with Shabnam Ismail and Marizanne Kapp and Dane and Susie Bates. That must have been really amazing.
Yeah, I actually think if I was to say who did I get on the best with, it would actually be Shabs. I love Danae. She's just a lovely person and just so lovely. I think it was on the final, and she just introduced herself to my whole family. Like, my family didn't even know. She was just sat chatting to my grandpa and my mum for like 20 minutes, and I was like, you can go. But she was lovely. And yeah, Cappy's a little bit more quieter than Danae, but I got on with Cappy really well, and she was really nice. I used to sit next to her in the change room when I was a bit messy, and she just laughed at how messy it was. But yeah, and then Susie's again a lovely person. I don't think you'd get a better 4 overseas than what we had. Susie was so lovely, a great person to have, just super positive, always happy, always smiling. I think her and Loz together as a partnership was incredible, because they were always having fun. They never felt as if when they walked out to bat, they didn't feel like they weren't smiling. They were always smiling together. And yeah, I think they were the best 4 overseas you could ask for, and obviously the experience they have was incredible. And I was very lucky to surround myself with them.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a brilliant team, and performance wise as well, because you ended up going all the way. But just before we talk about that grand final match, now you won every single game except for the 6th match against the Brave. Now obviously that final was against the Brave, but not winning the first game against them. What were the kind of team talks between those 2 games in comparison to maybe not winning the first one to then go, right, we need to win this one?
I think the first one, I think we were missing people. I think Capsy wasn't playing. Capsy is a massive loss in the field with the bat, with the ball. And I think, I think that did actually hurt us. Not having Capsy playing was a big hole. And it was a big hole to fill. But we were quite happy having Brave in the final. They lost to them last year, so they knew that they'd want the fight, but at the same time they would be a bit worried that it's happened again. It's going to happen again at Lords, and so we sort of went out there like just all guns blazing. We knew they were going to come out and want to win, obviously, and get revenge, but at the same time we knew that if we put the pressure on them, they might get flashbacks from last year. And I think that was what a lot of them from last year were thinking about, was they've got to try and beat us this time. But yeah, I mean, obviously losing to them, I don't know, a lot of the girls were like, it's actually quite nice sometimes to get you, I know it sounds bad, but getting the loss out early isn't always a bad thing. So some of the girls were like, it's all right, like we can build on it and go on to a high, and obviously we did. And yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, it worked out in the end, didn't it? So
it did work out in the
end. So now that final, now you previously in the media have mentioned that your granddad is the biggest inspiration to you and ignited your love for cricket. So he was at that game at Lords. Now, how special was that to you to have him there and seeing you, hold the trophy at the end?
Yeah, annoyingly, he didn't actually get to hold it. I was trying to get him down, but he couldn't get down the stairs to lift it. But yeah, it was special. Yeah, I guess he wasn't able to go to anywhere else. He went to the first Lord's game, but yeah, I think it was super special just to see him achieve dreams that I've always wanted. I know he said to me, this is only one step towards your dream, and completing it. And he was exactly right. But he said, I've seen it. But yeah, it was amazing to have him there. I had a lot of my family there actually, but it was lovely. I think when I got my wicket, I did give him a fist bump from afar.
Yeah, that's so cute. And I mean, he had they did an interview with him, I believe, and
I remember telling him the day before he was being interviewed, he thought I was pulling his leg, but I wasn't. But yeah, he loved it. I loved it. But it was a really lovely thing that BBC did. Actually, it was lovely.
Yeah, it was so heartwarming. And I was watching it in the car. Yeah. I was next to my grandma. I was like, don't cry. It was so sweet. I loved it. Now, what personally for you, what were your goals going into the final?
My thoughts on the final was win it.
Yeah.
I don't any match I sort of just think that win and do all you can for the team. Whether that's you get wickets or you build pressure and you get dots, and all I had on my mind was, I've done so well, top it off with a win, and that's all I had in my head. Just spoil your best ball, do all you can for the team, and let's lift the trophy. And it was nice to get a wicket, obviously, and especially I think I won 5 balls. I went for a few runs and then you had to pull it back, and I did, and getting a wicket was special, but I was mainly just wanted to win.
Yeah, no, completely fair. And I mean I'm sure you would in a situation like that. Now, quick question about the medal. Is it heavy? Because it looks really heavy.
Yeah, it's not as heavy as the trophy. It was embarrassing. I gave the trophy to the paramedic, and get called noodle arms because my noodles, because my arms are like noodles because they're really thin. But I was trying to lift it, and I had to lift it all the way up to the thing. So it was quite a long way I was lifting it for, but I couldn't lift it above my head, so I was just like holding it. And the paramedic lifted it, and it went all right over his head, and I was like, oh god, this is embarrassing. That was really heavy. And the medal is quite heavy. I had it on all night, and I feel like I did have a bit of a bad neck afterwards. It was quite heavy. Yeah, it is. It's way heavier than everyone thinks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't look too heavy, but then I've heard things about, it is heavier than it looks, but we've heard it firsthand. Now, what are your goals for the future? Now, if you had to say your next step, what do you want to achieve next in your career?
My next step would hopefully be under 19 World Cup is my main goal at the moment. Hopefully I can get in the selection for the 15 to go out to South Africa. I think that would top this year off, the selection of that. But yeah, I think that and it, just building on with Storm next year and building on from the season I've had this year. And yeah, I'm just hoping to get in the 100 again, and we'll see what happens. Obviously my main goal is to play for England, and but I've just got to break it down into small steps, if that's like England A games and so on. But yeah, I think my main goal at the moment is hopefully pushing for selection for the under 19 World Cup, and yeah, just going well with Storm and hopefully getting in the 100 next year.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you're definitely gone the right way about it, because you've been the talk of the summer, I can tell you that. It's been amazing to see you do so well in the 100, and ultimately to win it has been brilliant. But thank you so much for joining me today. I really
very much.
It. It's been brilliant to talk to you.
Thank you. See you soon.
In the air and gone. Caught and bowl, Smale. And the dangerous Mandana has gone. This is good from the Invincible.
So that was the wonderful Sophia Smale of the Oval Invincibles, who have just, of course, won the 100 women's competition. And it was quite a wonderful interview, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said at the beginning, hearing her talk about her thoughts and opinions on when she first got signed, how her mum hid it from her for a week. I don't know how she did that. But yeah, just amazing. And we both almost got teary when she was talking about her granddad, because that was just so sweet, and you can tell they've really got such a lovely bond. And I absolutely love the fact that he was there at Lord's for the final, and he was able to experience watching her win the trophy. So that was just so lovely to listen to her speak about him and their relationship, really.
Yeah, it certainly was.
Yeah, but yeah, so lovely, and obviously a big thank you to Sophia for coming on the podcast. But next week we do have another guest.
We do. A big ticket guest as well, by the way.
A big guest. Obviously, as a big Strikers fan myself, I love treating other Strikers fans, because we spoke to probably one of the biggest Strikers names you can get.
The wonderful Australian cricketing star, Test cricketing star, Jason Gillespie. That's a pretty big name. Arguably the biggest we've had on this podcast so far.
And the first,
absolutely wonderful to speak to him.
And the first interview technically in the studio, but outside at Park 25. So not in a studio, it's in an outdoor studio. So that was lots of fun, and a wonderful guy to talk to.
It was, certainly.
But yeah, that will be coming up next week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. In the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at How's That TCP. We've also started a YouTube channel, but if you're listening to this on any platforms, you won't need it. But if your Spotify subscription runs out, our episodes will be up on YouTube shortly, so you can follow us over there as well, or subscribe to us over there, should I say. But yeah, that is all from me this week. Certainly was. Looking forward to the Jason Gillespie interview next week, and should be a lot of fun. How's that? You missed the